Okay, so Victoria Beckham has apparently had enough, and sources are saying she's now directly going after Nicola Peltz. Like, we're talking full confrontation mode. After Brooklyn absolutely destroyed his parents on Instagram with those wedding allegations, Victoria is reportedly not blaming her son. She's blaming her daughter-in-law. And guys, the things coming out right now about what Victoria is allegedly saying about Nicola behind closed doors, it is wild. We're talking years of built-up resentment, accusations of manipulation, and a mother-in-law who apparently believes Nicola Peltz is the reason her perfect family fell apart. So buckle up, because you're going to want to hear every single detail of what's going down between these two. So Brooklyn Beckham just posted the most explosive statement on Instagram, basically torching his entire family. Allegations about Victoria hijacking his wedding first dance, trying to bribe him to sign away his name, canceling Nicola's wedding dress, all of it. And Brooklyn made it very clear that the narrative about Nicola controlling him is completely backwards. He said he's the one who was controlled by his parents his whole life, not by his wife. But apparently Victoria is not buying that at all. And now she's making her feelings about Nicola very, very known. So here's what multiple sources are saying. Victoria is absolutely devastated by Brooklyn's statement, reportedly in bits. Can't believe her son would expose the family like this. But according to insiders close to the Beckhams, Victoria is not actually blaming Brooklyn for any of this. In her mind, this is all Nicola's doing. Sources say Victoria genuinely believes that Nicola has poisoned Brooklyn against the family. That before Nicola came into the picture, Brooklyn was the perfect son who did what he was told, showed up for family events, played his role in Brand Beckham. And then Nicola arrived, and suddenly everything changed. One source close to Victoria said, Victoria thinks Nicola has completely manipulated Brooklyn and turned him against his own family. She believes none of this would have happened if Brooklyn had married someone else. Now that is loaded, because what Victoria is essentially saying is that her son has no mind of his own, that he can't think for himself, which is exactly the narrative Brooklyn called out. He literally said the idea that Nicola controls him is backwards, and that he was the one controlled by his parents. But Victoria apparently can't see that. She's convinced this is all Nicola's fault. Multiple outlets are reporting that Victoria has been trying to reach out to Nicola directly. Not Brooklyn, Nicola. Because in Victoria's mind, Nicola is the one she needs to confront. According to sources, Victoria has attempted to contact Nicola through messages, intermediaries, mutual connections, trying to get her on the phone or video call. And these attempts have not been friendly reconciliation efforts. Victoria allegedly wants to tell Nicola exactly how she feels about what she thinks Nicola has done to her family. One source said Victoria's messages have been heated and emotional, and that she's made it clear she holds Nicola responsible for the family breakdown. Another insider claimed Victoria has told people she wants to look Nicola in the eye and tell her she's ruined everything. Now, we don't have confirmation that Victoria has actually gotten through to Nicola yet, but the fact that she's allegedly trying says a lot. She's not trying to talk to Brooklyn, she's trying to get to Nicola, because that's who she sees as the real problem. And honestly, that's probably making things so much worse. Because Brooklyn literally said his wife has been consistently disrespected by his family. So if Victoria is now going after Nicola directly, that's just proving Brooklyn's point. Victoria's feelings about Nicola didn't just start with Brooklyn's Instagram post. According to sources, Victoria has had issues with Nicola from almost the very beginning. And apparently, it all comes down to control. Victoria is used to being the matriarch of the Beckham family. She's the one who built the brand, controls the image, decides how things are done. Her sons were expected to fall in line, show up for fashion shows, post the right things on social media, play their parts in the perfect Beckham family narrative. But Brooklyn fell in love with Nicola Peltz, daughter of billionaire Nelson Peltz. And Nicola comes from a completely different world. Her family has their own money, their own power, their own influence. She doesn't need the Beckham brand. She doesn't need Victoria's approval. And apparently, that's been a massive problem. Sources say Victoria expected Nicola to defer to her as Brooklyn's mother, to want to be part of the Beckham family legacy. But Nicola has her own family legacy, her own career, her own identity. She wasn't interested in becoming a Beckham brand asset. One insider said, Victoria is used to being the most important woman in her son's lives. She couldn't handle that Brooklyn had found someone who was more important to him than she was. And that's probably the root of all of this. It's not about the wedding dress or the first dance. It's about Victoria losing control over her son and not being able to accept it. Let's talk about the wedding, because this is where everything really exploded. Brooklyn's allegations show why Nicola might have some very strong feelings about Victoria. Brooklyn said Victoria canceled making Nicola's dress at the last minute. Imagine being a bride, excited to wear a dress designed by your fashion designer mother-in-law. And then weeks before the wedding, she just pulls out. Devastating and humiliating. Then, the night before the wedding, family members told him Nicola was not blood and not family. How hurtful is that? And the first dance situation. Brooklyn claims Victoria hijacked what was supposed to be his romantic first dance with Nicola and danced inappropriately on him in front of 500 guests, while Nicola was left crying. If that's true, that's deeply disrespectful to Nicola on one of the most important days of her life. So from Nicola's perspective, Victoria has done nothing but disrespect her and undermine her relationship with Brooklyn from day one. And now Victoria wants to confront her about ruining the family? Are you kidding me? According to sources close to the Peltz family, Nicola is absolutely not engaging with Victoria's attempts to contact her. She's reportedly blocked Victoria's number, ignored messages from intermediaries, and made it clear she has no interest in any confrontation. And honestly, good for her. What would be the point? Victoria clearly believes Nicola is the problem, that she manipulated Brooklyn, that she ruined the family. There's no productive conversation to be had when one person has already decided you're the villain. Sources say Nicola's position is simple. She supports her husband. Brooklyn chose to speak his truth, and she's standing by him. She's not going to engage with Victoria's drama or defend herself against accusations that she's controlling Brooklyn. One source close to Nicola said, Nicola thinks it's pathetic that Victoria can't accept that Brooklyn is a grown man who made his own choices. She's tired of being blamed for Brooklyn finally standing up for himself. Because Victoria acting like Nicola is this puppet master is actually insulting to Brooklyn. It's saying he's not capable of thinking for himself. That's exactly the kind of control Brooklyn was talking about. What's really interesting is how the Peltz family has rallied around Brooklyn and Nicola. While the Beckhams are divided with the younger brothers blocking Brooklyn, the Peltz family is completely united in supporting the couple. Nicola's father, billionaire Nelson Peltz, has apparently told Brooklyn he'll back him 100% and has even offered legal support if needed. They've basically welcomed Brooklyn fully into their family in a way he clearly didn't feel welcomed by his own family anymore. And I think that drives Victoria absolutely crazy. Because not only has she lost control over Brooklyn, but he's found another family that accepts him unconditionally. He doesn't need the Beckhams anymore. And for someone like Victoria, who's built her entire identity around family and the Beckham brand, that's devastating. But instead of looking inward and asking why Brooklyn felt the need to cut contact and go public, Victoria is externalizing it all onto Nicola. It's easier to blame the daughter-in-law than to accept that maybe the way they treated Brooklyn contributed to this. What exactly is Victoria saying about Nicola behind closed doors? According to sources, it's pretty brutal. Victoria has allegedly told friends that she thinks Nicola is jealous of the Beckham family's fame and success, that Nicola wanted to separate Brooklyn from his family so she could have him all to herself, that Nicola has been feeding Brooklyn lies and twisting his memories to make David and Victoria look bad. She's also reportedly said that Nicola is using Brooklyn for his famous last name while simultaneously trying to distance him from the family that made that name valuable. Which is ironic, considering Brooklyn literally said his parents tried to get him to sign away the rights to his own name. But Brooklyn's statement tells a completely different story. He said Victoria repeatedly invited his ex-girlfriends into situations to make them uncomfortable. Victoria refused to help when Nicola asked for support with the LA fires. Victoria called him evil for including their nannies at the wedding table. None of that sounds welcoming. What's fascinating is watching Victoria try to maintain the narrative that Nicola controls Brooklyn when Brooklyn has explicitly said the opposite. He couldn't have been clearer. He said, "The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life." But Victoria can't accept that, because accepting that would mean accepting that she was the controlling one. That Brooklyn's decision to step away was because of her behavior, not Nicola's influence. It's classic deflection. Rather than take any accountability for the family breakdown, Victoria is making Nicola the scapegoat for everything. And I think a lot of people see right through that. The public reaction to Brooklyn's statement has been overwhelmingly supportive of him and Nicola. People are relating to his story about toxic family dynamics and controlling parents. Nobody's buying the idea that Nicola is this manipulative villain who brainwashed Brooklyn. Here's what I think is really going on. Victoria has spent decades building this perfect family brand. The gorgeous celebrity couple, the talented kids, the united front. That brand is worth millions. It's her identity. It's her legacy. And Brooklyn just shattered that entire facade with one Instagram post. He exposed that behind the perfect photos and family events, there was dysfunction and control and hurt. And that threatens everything Victoria has built. So instead of dealing with the actual issues Brooklyn raised, Victoria is doing damage control. And part of that is making Nicola the villain. Because if this is all Nicola's fault, if Nicola manipulated Brooklyn, then the Beckham brand is still intact. They're still the perfect family. They just have this outsider causing problems. But if Victoria admits Brooklyn's allegations have merit, if she admits they were too controlling, that they disrespected Nicola and treated Brooklyn badly, then the whole brand falls apart, and Victoria can't let that happen. So Nicola becomes the enemy. Not Victoria's behavior, not the years of control. It's all Nicola's fault. Look, I feel for Victoria on some level, because this has to be incredibly painful. Watching your son publicly accuse you of controlling behavior, seeing your family brand get destroyed, feeling like you've lost your child, that's devastating. But Brooklyn didn't do this for fun. He tried for years to handle things privately. He set boundaries, sent legal letters, tried to get his parents to stop using the press against him. And when none of that worked, he told his truth. And his truth is that he felt controlled, disrespected, and anxious his entire life until he stepped away. That's serious. And it deserves to be taken seriously, not dismissed as manipulation by his wife. Victoria confronting Nicola isn't the answer. Blaming Nicola isn't the answer. The answer is actually listening to Brooklyn and doing the hard work of self-reflection. But I don't know if Victoria is capable of that right now. She seems too focused on protecting the brand. What do you guys think? Is Victoria right to blame Nicola, or is she just deflecting? And do you think there's any chance this family ever reconciles? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.